Hey, I thought,
Hey, oh, I got on just in case, by the way.
yeah, me too, because we didn't really, but I put it in Slack that I thought last week we said there's no more gatekeeper community calls until the new year. Is that right?
I can't remember. I've had a week. I'm sorry, but
All right,
I think
maybe,
it's like 8 after, so
yeah, no
yeah.
worries. Yeah, so maybe let's just, I'll put it in on Slack and meeting notes that, the next one would be what? January, okay, what day is it? Oh,
January is
January
8th.
8th? Yeah, so next one will be 8th, okay? Does that
Yeah,
sound
I
good?
am on call for jury duty that week.
I
For work,
understand.
but,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
but at least it's better than just people expecting to, yeah,
Oh, 100%. I was just letting you know if I don't show up that
let
week.
me just put the in the on in the notes that we have it canceled. But yeah, um, other than that, I guess I'm not sure if you have bandwidth to do much, but there are a few PRs out there. But
Yeah, are there any? So there's the VAP PRs, which we talked about reviewing. Is there a more urgent one that's blocking something that I should definitely be looking
when you
at?
say VAP PR, oh, that's the
The
bug.
library, yeah.
Gotcha. I guess there's a few in the library, but that I guess those can wait.
Jay's coming.
Yeah,
um,
they
okay, yeah. So but there's no PR other than the library stuff that we were talking about. We should
right.
try to get to. Okay, I
Yeah,
want to make sure I'm not leaving anyone in the lurch. What's that?
I spent some time fixing one of the library PRs. So if you have time, that would be great. But other
Yeah,
than that,
sorry. I have not been able to look at open source like at all this week, so
yeah,
I
no.
apologize.
Yeah, it's just surprising that there's a few bugs for 118. Oh, sorry, 318. So not great.
Oh, this is the generating stuff. Are there, so there are PRs in the gatekeeper repo, or those have already all been approved?
Been approved, I think. Right, Jay? I don't think there's anything that's pending bug fixes.
I think I raised one yesterday, but I haven't checked if it got reviews or not. This is regarding that Neil pointer
Yeah,
That I
yeah.
thing.
approved. Yeah.
I
And
approved that one and I already merged it.
oh, okay. And there is one more issue that you assigned to me yesterday. I'll investigate and see if it needs a fix. And then if I find it needs a fix, I'll raise a PR and then we can cut 318 point.
Yeah, yeah. I guess the next question is like, given the bugs, when do we want to cut a 318.2?
These are bugs for generation, right? Which is what, in beta or alpha?
Alpha.
Alpha. Um, so a bug in an alpha feature isn't urgent, so I would say it's fine to wait until after the new year if we wanted to avoid, but like also like if we fix something in alpha, right? Like if there's like downstream effects, the only thing we want to avoid is putting cutting code right before a long break is
Yeah,
the thing I'm thinking
exactly.
about.
That's why I'm asking. Yeah.
But so I want to ask this question. The tricky thing is the impact of that bug goes beyond the feature of generation, right? Like it will stop the gatekeeper's functionality because if somebody is using that namespace selector and in like 1.3, 1.30 beyond, the gatekeeper pod itself will crash.
Is that code branch dead unless you're using the alpha feature? Like, yeah, is is it guarded by a Boolean of only execute this conversion if generation is enabled, or no?
It is.
Okay, well that's the thing then, right? Unless people have enabled the alpha feature, the pod won't crash. But yeah, if the pod is crashing despite the feature being disabled, yeah, that should be dealt with, and also that's probably we should figure out how to do a better job feature gating, which is always hard.
Wait, sorry, can you remind me why is the pot crashing?
Because it's a panic, right? Because in the issue, if the user is using 1.30 or 1.31 plus, like we are converting v1 objects, v1 beta on objects to v1 objects, and that's where the nil pointer issue is, right? So if generation is on and somebody is using GA
Oh,
VAP APIs,
sorry.
they
You're
will
saying
fail.
you're saying this Neil is actually causing the whole pod to crash. Okay, sorry. I thought you were talking about some other thing.
No.
Okay, and so from that perspective, it's really bad. But also that only happens when you're trying to use this VAP generation.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. That makes sense. Uh, but yes, we definitely don't want pod to crash.
I'd flip a coin either way. Like, it's a pretty bad bug. So, if we don't want to leave a bad impression for the alpha, that makes sense to me. The fact that it's feature gated lowers the risk to me. Like, I could flip a coin here personally.
Yeah. Unless there are other bugs. Like the other reason I was thinking about waiting for 3.18.2 is in case there are other bugs. Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. Either or for me. Do you have strong feelings, Jay?
I think, I mean, waiting makes sense because I don't want to be doing like subsequent releases for every bug. But at the same time, I don't know realistic impact of this bug, since it might go beyond its scope, Um,
Well, so if we validated that it doesn't cause crashes unless the feature is used, then that's kind of the
it
limit of it.
doesn't. It doesn't. Even in 1.29, it doesn't, right? Because it'd be using beta APIs anyways. But I'm fine with waiting though.
Okay, so it sounds like we're leaning toward waiting. Trying to read Rita's face.
Yeah, I'm okay either way. So yeah.
Cool.
It was interesting that the deployment, like that flag missing from the deployment YAML was actually breaking people. So I felt like that one we should have just cut the release or the patch release. Yeah.
Yeah, anything. Oh, yes, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Anything that breaks like the non-alpha stuff, yeah, for sure.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, I think we need, from this experience, I think we need a revamp of how our charts are generated and maintain like one source of truth, because it was really easier to miss adding this to default deployment or gatekeeper YAML file.
Yeah, I agree. Do you want to add an issue for this?
Yeah.
And yeah, unless we add it to a milestone, it will never get done. So that's generally this is
My
what I
hands
see.
are pretty
And
full
even if
for
you
this.
add it to a milestone, it could not. Maybe it'll yeah.
Because
That's
I have
true.
other bunch of CI stuff that I have list for. Like we need to add VAP testing for library, uh,
Yeah.
some automation stuff on CI as well. So
Did was this did that flag just not make it to Gatekeeper YAML, or did it also affect the Helm chart?
Just the gatekeeper YAML.
Okay, yeah, that's probably the demon of familiarity, right? Like I'm guessing Jay used the Helm chart to install, so.
Yeah, but he's right. Like, anytime it should just we update one place, and that should just propagate the change across. Yeah.
For sure. I thought so. The Helm chart is automatically generated. It's been a while since we've added a new flag, so I'm like just trying to remember. But I thought that the source of truth was under the config directory for the deployments. And then we had, I don't know if we allowed substitutions in the operations flag or not. But yeah, like the deployments would get fed through this like Helmify script, which would basically inject all of the templating to affect the Helm chart parameters. And then also the Gatekeeper YAML is just the mashup via customize of all of those resources and config with overlays. So we might have that one source of truth, like maybe we just didn't exercise it, but then I would have expected whatever change you made to have been clobbered.
No, I think it was the change was added in like Calify, and it didn't get added to the Fig. Yeah, that's what happened.
Got it.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, but it's just it was a bust. Anyway, let's deal with that later, I guess. Anything else, Jay, that you want to make sure we talk about? Okay. So if you guys have some time, I would love another PR review. I put it in the chat. This is the one I went through not yesterday. I think last week. I don't remember now. 5 days ago.
Syscontrols.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be good to just like close all these old PRs out. The longer we wait, the harder it's gonna get.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think all my PRs are also up to date. So
Okay.
I have no clue what my PRs are in their state, but yes, I will look at your PRs and I will comment on mine if they are up to date. To ping reviews, yeah.
Actually, if we got like a few minutes, I would like to kind of, how discuss one thing. You know how for the VAP binding generation, because we have to wait, we added a new annotation, right? Are there any concerns around perhaps there could be like the system could be fighting if Gatekeeper is updating those resources and something else is updating that resource?
Like VAP resources, you're saying?
Like constraint template or constraint and constraint template.
So there's always concern about fighting. The reason why it's like kind of hard to answer that question is, it's sort of like what else is installed on the cluster, what else is operating on the cluster, right? Because if it's just Gatekeeper, no, right? I think so. For controller fights, which you could kind of see if you had a system like Argo putting constraints or templates on the cluster, if you had some other controller operating on the constraints or templates. The thing there is just, what does the other system consider drift, right? Like, does it exclude annotations, or like have a set of annotations it cares about and only checks for those? Or does it just run like a diff on the YAML, and if there's any diff, it considers it there to be drift, right? And if the latter, like there's kind of nothing we could do, like other than not store data anywhere, or like maybe store it in status, right? Because like I'm reasonably sure that people would exclude status from a diff, because otherwise you're going to be constantly reconciling, if that's a bug as well. But putting it in status makes me somewhat uncomfortable, because it's a field that has a functional impact, right? It's not just reporting. Like, you could kind of make sense of putting it in status by saying, well, yeah, it's like Gatekeeper is reading that field, but it's not like config. So,
Yeah, I think this is probably the first time where Gatekeeper is now updating those updating constraint template after it's created, other than status. Yeah,
uh,
I think. Yeah.
other than status, probably. I'm trying to think if there's any like defaulting that we did on the template. I don't think so, though. I think that was more on the generated CRD, right? Like if we inject X Kubernetes, ignore unknown fields, or don't prune, or whatever it was, to like get to what did they call that again? Like the CRD schema stuff. They had some term for it that I'm blanking on, when they graduated CRDs to V1. Anyway, yeah, I think you're right. But annotations are also like an expected point of interfunctionality in Kubernetes, right? Like, if you have an add-on, it's annotation. The reason why annotations are there are so that you can install systems other than the controller that also care about the state of the resource and need some place to put like scratch state, essentially. So if people are taking annotations that they don't own too seriously, I think there's a strong argument for there's a problem there. Do you have specific controllers in mind, or is this just a thought that crossed your head?
This is I mean, I was just thinking because we didn't update anything in the CT before, and now it is. And if there are different controllers that are updating it, what kind of issues could we have? And to your point, if it's just like you're updating some annotations and I'm updating some annotations, maybe it's not that bad, right?
Well, yeah. So if there's a fight, right? So let's say that whatever this other system does care about the annotation. The impact I could see on our side, like who knows what this other controller is doing, or like side effects, are one, there would be an increase in write requests to the K8s API server. And two, I would assume then that this other system is clobbering the annotation, which means the annotation would get constantly rewritten, which would mean that the clock would be forever moving forward and you would
Right.
never get VAP generation.
Right. So again, much like the way we're adding the annotation, right? We're only adding that annotation and then updating that value. We're not touching other annotations. So
Right.
it depends on how the other controller is doing this, right? Like, are they basically doing replace all, or are they only saying, hey, add these annotations or update the values? So depending on how they do it, we could collaborate each other. But my point is, if every controller is just updating and adding, deleting its own annotations, then it should be fine.
Yeah, and my other point then, or my follow-up point to that would then be like Kate's intention with annotations hints very strongly that controllers should ignore annotations they don't recognize. They should not try to clobber them.
Right. Well, but Kate's itself can't do much, right? Unless, yeah,
Correct.
depending on how you're updating it. Like, do you replace all or do you just do your own crud?
Yeah. My point more just like is in that situation, the question is whose bug is it? Not
Right.
is the user happy? Because they're not.
Right. Right, for sure. Okay.
Trying to think of other things that add annotations. I'm sure there are a lot, but can't remember off the top of my head. Got to be like the key manager. Well, it reads annotations. Cert manager. Sorry, not key manager.
Okay.
All right. Is there anything else, or do we want to get 30 minutes back?
Let's get the 30 minutes back.
Woo!
Else. Okay. Thank you. Good to see you and happy holidays.
Yeah, Merry all the things. And a happy new year. Oh, good.
We are canceling subsequent remaining two
Yes.
meetings.
I updated the doc.
Oh, okay. Cool.
You should see it. Yeah. Okay. All right. And I will put a message in the chat on Slack as well. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Bye.